Hey guys, I'm Andrea, and welcome to episode 22 of Careers Are Weird. I'm just gonna run through this intro because this week we have a literal run coach on the podcast. You know the drill by now. I need you to click the submission link in the show notes or my Insta or LinkedIn bio so that you can leave stories, questions, or feedback for the podcast so that we can talk about them on the next solo episode. And please give Careers Are Weird a subscribe or follow wherever you're listening. So, you guys know careers are weird, but this week, I swear careers are really, really weird. I'm joined by Blair Roden, aka Broad Run, whose career is so weird that I got so lost in my pre podcast LinkedIn stock. So, let's get into Blair's career and find out how one becomes someone with the audacity to tell me what my predicted half marathon pace is, as if I'd ever sign up for one. Blair, hello. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for asking. You all right? How are you?
I'm good today, thank you.
Good, good. Good to hear it.
All right, Blair, you've got the strangest career path. I couldn't even navigate your LinkedIn. So we're just gonna jump in and I'll start with the easy questions before you figure out how you got to run coach. But well, I guess what is your current job title?
Yeah, so running an endurance coach for, I guess, what you would say my own company. So I've just sort of set up and start up out here doing that. I've been doing it now full time for around 6 months now, which is obviously been absolutely fantastic. And I am, as people say, living the dream, quite literally.
Whoa, 6 months. I didn't realize it was so new. So then what's a day in the life of this new role of yours, running an endurance coach?
Yeah, so a day in the life is probably like starts normally at like 4:30 normally to get up to go to wherever partaking in a particular run session. Normally at the minute we're usually down at Kite Beach, so it's about 30-40 minutes for me. So get in the car, get down there, get prepped, get ready for the run session. Um, Normally that will be anything up to an hour. As we get into the winter, you'll be really glad to hear that those sessions will be getting longer. So you can get ready for that. I can tell by your face you're obviously super excited for that. So, really happy. And then normally I come back and it will be sort of client check ins from maybe the day before, sessions that people have done, and, sort of maybe it'll be like a sort of text or, voice note feedback just to sort of ask them how they found it, sort of if it's what they sort of expected. And then, that'll normally take me up until lunchtime. And then I'll probably have a look ahead maybe at social media stuff for the couple of days, what I'm planning for races, trying to get myself out there in the big bad world, maybe record a podcast or two like we're doing now. Whether that's the Wonderful Careers Are Weird podcast or whether it's my own podcast. So yeah, and then sort of in the evening, I'll normally train at night again, depending on what it is that I'm training for, whether it be strength training or some sort of endurance training. And then one final check would probably just look at people's runs and look at people's sessions as they come in, because sometimes people train at night, and then just sort of tune out for the evening. Normally about about 8 o'clock. It's not 11 o'clock. About 8 o'clock, and then that'll
Yeah.
be me crashed out for the evening.
Whoa, that is a long day. So you've got a mixture of both your in-person coaching that you do with people like me at the beach as well as online coaching then.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And then occasionally I mix it up with, sometimes people ask for specific like one-on-one PTs for like say strength for endurance classes, or sometimes like I do like a group sort of strength for runners PT stuff, or some sort of individual stuff at the gym. So it is quite varied. I probably just ran you through a typical Monday. So Monday's like always the same, and then all my days are sort of the same throughout the week. Weekends a bit different, as people are doing different things, whether it's long runs, long cycles. So it's one of those jobs where it's like maybe 7 days a week, but the clock doesn't really stop. But I mean, it's not like I'm sort of super pressured in like a corporate environment where I've got to get a report to somebody else. It's all on me, so I don't really find it that bad, doing that late night stuff.
Whoa, like the day in the life of a coach though is so much more intense than see a lot of us will just go to the gym for an hour, see the coach. we think the coach is there for our session. Maybe they do a class right after us, and then they're kind of done for the day and just lounging around. But that was, you were just going from 4:30 to 8 p.m. there. There was no breaks in there. That's
Yeah, it's just
crazy.
like one of those things that you've got to plan out for the day of what you're going to do, and maybe like you maybe have like a specific meet a new client or something like that put in, and it just like puts a spanner in the works, and everything just sort of gets put back. And yeah, you're right. I guess it's all going like it's the little things you don't see, like maybe like taking an hour to plan and program like a class for a certain day, and like yeah, you're right. You turn up, but probably for most coaches, that's been like a lot of thought and a lot of plan and preparation for it, especially if it's like coming up to like a specific part of like a race season or coming up to a specific event. Maybe I put extra thought into what I'm actually going to do, like for the people for that day. So yeah, it's just yeah, it's good. It's good fun though. Really enjoy it. Like I'd say I've probably only had 3 or 4 bad days in since I went full time. Like obviously before, I mean, I'll probably get to the rundown of my full career in a bit, but like before I was doing it part time, and like you're not as invested. It's not your whole your whole personality, your whole everything. But I've had a few bad days. Like say somebody's missed a race or something's not well. Like I'm quite like I feel like I take it on. Like when somebody has like a result that they don't want, or maybe they even have a bad training session. Like I'll go away and think about their training session for like 2-3 hours. And that sometimes
Oh
gives me
no.
like a bad day, but like I mean, just got to get back on the horse the next day and crack on.
Yeah, just got to get running again. Wow, that's a really busy day, and I'm really glad that you've actually had only 3 bad days in 6 months since you've gone full time. That is such a blessing. So that's amazing. Happy for you. So then, Blair, what's the deal? Have you always been into running? Like, was this what you always wanted to do?
Not really, to be honest. I only really got into running around 2018, where I'd sort of
Mhm.
been challenged by a flatmate of mine, Rachel, who had said to me, I'd had been forced to retire from rugby the year before, and then she sort of said to me, "I'm running this 10K in about 4 weeks. You should do it." And I said, "Well, there's no point. I'd beat you easily at 10K. Like I've been playing rugby my whole life. I'll be pretty fit, And then obviously I got the shock of my life going to run my first ever race. It's not to say I hadn't run before, because you've probably seen from my LinkedIn profile, like I was in the military before, so that does require you to do quite a lot of running. Um, but I'd never done anything structured. Like the long distance running that I'm doing now is just worlds away from what somebody like in the military would probably be doing, or definitely be doing. I know, but so yeah, and then basically I got challenged by her. I thought my head wouldn't fit out the door. I didn't think that I'd get beat, and she ended up beating me by about 4 minutes or something. And then that sort of kick started something else where I actually fell in love with the training, and started doing it every day pretty much.
Whoa, I'm so glad she beat you. That was a slice of humble pie that you needed to actually get into this. Because if you had beat her, I don't think you would have taken it nearly as seriously. So I'm really glad she beat you.
Yeah, exactly. So shout out to Rachel for that.
Yeah, go Rachel. Okay, so you just mentioned there, I guess what was your first job, which was you joined the army?
I was in the Navy in the UK. Yeah.
How, how did you end up with that? Was that what you wanted to do after high school or after
Yeah. So
uni?
after high school,
Did you
I had visions of sort of going away and doing like an apprenticeship in electrical engineering. That's what I fancied doing. I had like a good interest in all things engineering wise, and I'd sort of, I think around 2012, it was like quite a big recession in the UK and around the world, and it was really tough to get in to get a job. Um, and I'd applied for lots and lots of different apprenticeships with like all the major sort of oil and gas firms, all the sort of energy firms like Shell, BP, all these kind of things to try and get in. And then just basically as I was going through Google, I had like a sponsored Google ad that said like, "You want to do this? Why not try this?" And I literally applied for the Navy for electrical engineering apprenticeship, like just because I'd been rejected by so many different companies. I just thought, well, I might as well see what this is like. Managed to get in, and then just like went all in from there. It just seemed like it wasn't a bad decision for someone who really didn't know exactly where they wanted to go. I figured, well, at the worst case, I probably have 4 years experience. I'll get out. I'll have a vocational qualification and maybe have a good time while I'm doing it. So sort of just dove into there straight away.
That's epic. You just jump into the Navy. Like, what what even is a day in the life as a first year electrical engineering apprentice in the military? I guess. Well, would you say military or Navy or same or different?
Same. Yeah, pretty much the same. So
Yeah.
well, basically, the first year is like technical college. Like, I mean, it's far and away from like what somebody considers to be like the army. You know, somebody like going away, learning to shoot a gun and go to different war. Like, it's completely different. The Navy's a pretty much technical service, and I was in the submarine service, so spent most of my career underwater as opposed to on top of it. But basically, the first year is technical college and technical training. So you go away for a year, you do all the sort of basic training stuff that you see in all the films, and then you go away to college and learn your trade. So then after that, then you get attached to a boat and get sent around wherever the boat's going.
I'm so sorry. You just said that you were in the submarine unit. That's a real thing?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah. So you just get sent away for however long at a time and just go away and try and fix things when they go wrong underwater. So it's a bit of a different life, I suppose.
That's a very different life. That's not something that I would be sitting in high school thinking, yep, going on a submarine for a couple of months at a time. How long at a time were you underwater if you were in a submarine? A couple days or a couple
No,
weeks?
weeks and weeks or months. It would depend.
That
So
that's insane.
just
You're
depend what part of the world we were in and where we were going, and lots of different aspects. But managed to travel all over, so managed to get some good few stints in different places we managed to go. So
whoa. Okay. So how long were you in that first role then?
so I was in that first role for like a year as like a basically junior sort of, you could almost call it like an apprentice role, and then I managed to pass, like I had like some qualifications from school and stuff like that, and quite a lot of the people who join up as like, I guess maybe people would know it as like enlisted, or they would just be like normal people, like not non-officers. um you can put yourself forward for like officer training, and that's basically what I did, as long as you have the qualification. So put myself forward for that, and managed to pick up a promotion pretty quickly, which they sent me back to technical college for. Did the technical college for about another year and a half, and then went back as I was on like a sort of officer sort of pathway, roughly speaking, and then went back into the next role. Did that for about a year, and then went back to college to do, or well, like university to do the sort of the formal qualification before you become an officer.
Hmm.
So I did that for around another year. So I was in with a sort of, if you imagine a year in technical college, a year in the service, a year in technical college, a year in service. It was like, ended up being in there for a total of 8 years. Sorry, a total of 9 years. But the final year, I actually got medically discharged from the Royal Navy. So basically, my last year was spent just like in, I guess you would call it, some form of like purgatory or something, just sitting there waiting to be discharged out. And then, yeah, that was sort of the end of the career there.
When that last year where you're being medically discharged and you kind of just waiting to see what would happen next, what did you want to happen next? What were you kind of applying for?
I literally had no clue, because I like had everything set out. Like, I was going to go. I'd come back from university. I was supposed to be starting going to the next sort of term of the officer training, and then I was supposed to sort of, I had everything lined up for me. So I like basically knew what I was going to be doing for the next like 20 years of my life. I was like, this is all planned out. At the time, I was still playing rugby for the Navy, so I was like going away sort of once a year to the different rugby training camps. And like, one of the good things about the military is they really love sport. So, probably a third of my year was spent playing rugby, which was great. So I knew basically what I was going to be doing, and I had the sort of like plan pathway to sort of go. And then when it was like, you're going to have to leave, I had no idea what I was going to do. And like the options, I mean, they're getting better at it, I think, but the options of what you can and can't do post military life are not really like laid out for you. It's not really like, well, you can get this job or you can get this job. It's sort of just a bunch of guys on LinkedIn saying, have you heard about this? And People just trying to point you in a direction, and you don't really know what you want to do, right? Because what you've wanted to do is no longer available to you, so you have to sort of try and come up with something dynamically to think, I'm going to do this.
Yeah, I think that's a big problem with so many just companies as well as government agencies is employee offboarding and career transitioning, especially when you're in that. I feel like the military, the navy, that sort of environment is such a bubble because everything's in there. Within the navy, you do have your electrical engineers, but you've also got your chefs, your doctors, your dentists, your lawyer, because it's a closed little bubble. So yeah, offboarding is such a big thing.
Yeah. And they're not
Whoa.
exactly like, they don't really want people to leave. So I feel like at the time they're like, well, it's actually really difficult to go and get a job in Civvy Street. Like, you're not going to go and walk into a big paying job that you're not going to get paid the same. You're not going to do this. And they sort of close the opportunities down, whereas that's not the reality for us. Anybody that is a service leaver, the reality is, like, you've got skills that nobody else in the world does. Like, you've faced adversity that likely nobody else does. Um, and it's just, you're totally wanted, and there's a million different companies that would love to have you. So it's just like something to consider. I mean, I'm not sure how many ex-military or leaving military people would be thinking about leaving and hear this and go, "Oh, it's not that bad," but it isn't that bad. It's absolutely fine. But you do face a sort of career transition, like probably unlike anything else, where you're so institutionalized, and everything you've ever known is like, it's like almost your personality. Your job is your personality, like beyond probably anything else you ever known. So it's like, yeah, you're like everything's on the base. Like, your doctor's there, your doctor's this guy, your doctor's that guy. You're eating on the base. For most people, you're living on the base. You're never going home. You go home 3 times a year when you've got annual leave, and that's it. But when you leave, you sort of lose your identity a little bit and start to think, all that knowledge that I have about that one specific thing is completely wasted. It's completely gone because I'm not going to be able to use it anywhere else. It's quite a strange
Yeah.
feeling.
Yeah, I can't imagine that. And you had like 8, 9 years of that.
Mm-hmm.
So then you finish your 8, 9 years and you've got your professional qualifications as an electrical engineer.
Mm-hmm.
You're still in Scotland at this point.
Mm-hmm.
At what point do we get to Dubai? How did you end up here?
So basically, I took a job straight out of the navy as like I mean, they call it insurance inspectors, but it's not really. It's basically, you do statutory inspections on behalf of insurance agencies, where you do third party certification and qualification for anything mechanical related in, like, say, warehouses, or plants, or schools or hospitals or something. Somebody needs to come in and inspect these things to say that they're safe for the public. So that's the job that I took, where you basically go in and do these inspections, compile reports. I did that for around 2 years, or a year and a half, and then that's when
Mhm.
Sophie, my wife, basically got a job as a teacher in Dubai. So in 2022, I think 2022, she got a job as a teacher, and then basically just said, right, we're going to move out to Dubai. So, but she didn't say that. I mean, we agreed, obviously, that we're going to move out to Dubai.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so she came out here with a job, and then did you come out here looking for one, or did you manage to line up a new opportunity in Dubai before you came
came
out?
out looking for one, and then found it really difficult, to be honest, because like the engineering industry out here is just totally different to anything I'm used to, like especially in the UK. So first of all, I took a job for about 6 months for a real estate agency, just like pottering about. I was originally like hoped to get like a proper salary paying job, but never did. But I did that for just like, to be honest, just to keep me occupied, like while I first came over here. I actually really enjoyed it, and like it was a good experience away from everything I'd ever done, and I'd never worked in sales before, I'd never done anything like that, so it was just like so interesting just to do that. And that was around the time that we sort of launched like the Jameer John's Run Club and stuff, and started taking on more coaching like part time. So that was like you know, pretty good, like pretty good career segue to allow me to sort of, I guess, work on that side hustle while I'm doing a main hustle.
But so, what made you want to even start that side hustle? Was this long after Rachel beat you in that 10K? This move out to Dubai?
Yeah, it was about years, I think three and a bit years. But I'd been coaching and helping coach one of the running clubs back home that was like quite serious in terms of like the club running scene in the UK is like quite serious in terms of like if everybody goes down to a session, it's all very much race focused. It's not really like what we have here with like our running club where we focus on like community first and then sort of everything else after. Whereas theirs is like quite serious. So I joined in there. I had a coach myself. I just started to really get into like the sort of weeds of, the process of how it all works, and really started to get into enjoy like how rewarding it was to help other people sort of go on their journey. And like the first people I maybe coached two people for like the longest time, just helping them here and there with different tips and tricks and sort of like I would say it'd be like soft coaching. It wasn't all in. It was just sort of however it goes. And while I was training myself, I was learning a lot. And yeah, so it was a good few years. It was just like gaining sort of. I would say that would always be like my apprenticeship before my run coaching, like doing that and probably getting so much stuff wrong, and just learning while I'm going. But I think it's really important for
Yeah.
anything. Like you just got to get learned by doing, right? You've just got to chuck yourself in and see how it goes.
Yeah, so well, you definitely saw how it went because you got really, really into it. Did you eventually do some studying to be a run coach as you got more into it?
Yeah. Started. I did some professional qualifications for to become a certified run coach through United Endurance. United Endurance something coaches. I can't remember, but USCA is the full one. I'll remember what it is later. But did that course and then did like the PT course as well, which to be honest wasn't very helpful to be a run coach. Like I'd probably say about less than 5% had anything of any relevance really that would help me become a run coach doing that. And then done a few other little online courses here and there. I have been toying the idea of like going to do further study, but I just know that would be a big undertaking. So I'm thinking about maybe doing an online uni course, but I need to sort of decide how that goes in the next couple of years, how the business goes and stuff, because I know it's such a big undertaking.
Yeah, definitely. Because I was going to ask you then, like, life's definitely not stagnant. Roles aren't forever. You started your own company, so it's not really like there's a massive corporate ladder or like something for you to follow. What would be your ideal step? And you've just said you'd study. What would be the thing you'd study if you do?
I think it'd be like sports science. Yeah, but I'd have to see. I've only just started probably in the last month looking at like options, so I'm not really. It's like I want to learn more, and I've got like a hunger to learn more. But I'm also sort of on the other hand that I know how much you can learn just with like books and the internet. Like I know if you basically study well yourself, what is the accreditation of a proper degree apart from just the ability to lose £27,000? Like,
Yeah.
I can just learn those things, and if I provide the same value to a client, that's why I'm sort of at a crossroads with it. I know that people who are probably in the education field are probably listening to that going like, no, that's the wrong way to do it. It needs to be through an institution. But like, there's people who'll know what I mean, where you're like, you don't need to go and do a course to learn to change a light bulb. You just read how to do it on the internet. You do it yourself, and then you know how to do it for the rest of your life. That like as long as you're able to take sort of these sort of educational sort of applications and put them in a practical world. Like, do you really need a piece of paper that says you know how to do that?
Exactly. My stance on like higher, because I have my bachelor's, but like on doing more is the fact that a lot of these courses were designed so long ago. The world is changing so quickly that by the time they actually change the whole course curriculum and something, you could have read up on the new stuff or whatever they've changed it to. It's already changed again by the time they launched the course. So I completely agree with you there. It is, you can self teach yourself if if you're disciplined and if you really like what you do. And for you, you sound like you genuinely do like what you do, which is amazing.
Yeah, and that's sort of one of the reasons that I started my podcast, is just to be like use it as an educational channel to first of all educate myself and keep myself like disciplined and like learning things, and then sort of just keep sort of progressing on that, and a way to sort of express it and make sure I speak it out loud and use it as almost like a sounding board for my own education, which I enjoy.
Oh, guys, whilst he just said that, go listen to the Broad Run podcast as well. Really, really good. Told me something about my plasma volume expanding in the sauna. Really interesting stuff, guys. Actually, just go listen to that. But Blair, before I let you go, I think I've got two questions I want to end with for you. And the first one was for people who I guess you'd be really helpful for people transitioning from, I guess, a military environment. What's some advice that you'd give to someone who's at the end of their military journey, perhaps a lot earlier than they had intended to, about their transition to civilian life?
I think one of the most important things you can do is take all you can get from that service, like from where you're coming from. You have so much time and time, like while you're in it, that you almost don't know what to do with it, and you don't have like a sort of clear sort of plan. I would say try and take on as many free courses as you possibly can while you're in it, because there's so much to be offered, and then just it doesn't hurt to sort of get out there early and start exploring different avenues. And one of the other things I would say to look at is like don't think you have to jump into this sort of big corporate thing straight away. Maybe take your time. You're probably leaving with some sort of pension, some sort of money that will sort of keep you sort of safe and away from any sort of tragedy. So explore other things that you may not think at the time, like maybe your own businesses. Maybe you want to look at sort of going down an entrepreneurial path, and there's so many different grants, especially like in the UK. There's probably lots here in Dubai as well, if anybody's here, for people who want to explore that sort of way. Just try and go and maybe do something you're really passionate about, and something that maybe you've had on the back burner, and you never know, it might work out, you know.
That's really good. I'm going to clip that and just be like, if you're in the military or the Navy, listen to this. And then the last one for you, Blair. For people who want to get into running, what's the one piece of advice you'd offer for them?
Don't overthink it, get out and run. And I'll give some more context
Fair.
behind that. So basically, one of the big things that holds people back is themselves, and they put limits on their own beliefs of what they can do. And maybe they see a million different things on Instagram. I could go and show you 50 different posts I could get up now. If this person says, do this, don't do that, don't do that, do this, do this. If you go out and run consistently and listen to your body, push on hard days, run easy on easy days, and just keep getting out there, you will get better. You don't need to start worrying about getting down into the weeds until you are, deep into the forest. Do you know what I mean? If you're just on the edge of the forest, just get in there, and you'll figure it out as you go. Make mistakes, learn from your own body, learn from what you're doing as you go, when you go, and don't take it too seriously. At the end of the day, the chances are, if you listen to this, you want to get into running, you're probably never ever going to make the Olympics. There's a chance, but you're probably never going to make it. So don't start sweating the small stuff. Just focus on the bigger picture and get out there.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And guys, I can actually testify for that one. So my best friend and I, Emma, we started running with the run club that Blair you co-founded JJRC, right?
Technically, no, but I was one of the first
No.
member. Well, I was one of the first members. So
Ah, so the run club that Blair he does programming for like the spicy interval sessions on like a Wednesday. We started doing that obviously at the start of the Dubai summer in May because we were geniuses, and we've actually been pretty consistent throughout the summer. And I want to say we're getting better.
yeah,
I actually want to say that. So honestly, just start. It doesn't matter what your pace is. Your pace is your own. And just keep going. It's actually quite fun. You'll realize that if you go at a conversational pace, or favorite pace is conversational pace, it's actually quite enjoyable. So 100% agree. Your worst enemy. Just get out there and go run.
exactly. Enjoy it.
Well, that and if you actually want to run, get in touch with Broad Run so you can actually get some online coaching and some real programming because, I mean, you're coaching people to run marathons, right?
Yeah, exactly. I had two people running Berlin Marathon at the weekend there. I had people running half marathons in London at the weekend there. Have people going out to do Ironman events in a couple of weeks in Oman. Got people doing full, sort of 100 kilometer distance sort of half Ironman distance type stuff coming up. So there's people of all levels, and then on the other hand, there's also people who are doing couch to 5K. So it's like, there's a real mix across the board, and sort of like to do it. And like, even if you were like to say not to push my own thing, but like if you just sort of start and like you just want like advice, like I'm always sort of happy to just like give you advice. And probably most of the time I'll tell you, you might not even need a coach. Like I'll just be like, well, have you done this? Have you done this? Like, and then come back to me, and then you'll see, you'll probably start making progression. And when you want to take more things serious, then I'm always here to sort of answer any questions or take things more serious with you and join the team.
Perfecto. And you should definitely push your own thing. Guys, I'm going to link up everything for Blair's Instagram, his podcast, Broad Run Podcast, his LinkedIn. Get in touch with him and genuinely find out if you actually need like run coaching, if you want run coaching. Maybe you want to be one of those crazy endurance people who have like a different set of heart and lungs than the rest of us do. Blair, thank you so much for coming on the Careers of Word podcast. This has been so interesting.
Sure, anytime, anytime. I'm looking forward to getting you on mine, and we'll look forward to catching up. And I'll definitely catch up tomorrow when we're doing spicy intervals.
Oh my god, yeah, Wednesday intervals are like the highlight of my week, guys. Guys, this was Blair Roden, aka Broad Run. I'll link everything up for him in the show notes. And before you guys change this podcast to another one, just you know what to do. Follow on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, leave us a 5-star rating. If you're on YouTube, like, comment, and thumbs up. Pretty please. New episodes are out every Wednesday. So until then, stay weird and stay ambitious, my friends.